He's a politician paving the way for the Antichrist to come. I really don't believe he himself is the Antichrist, although a lot of people do. It always depends which agenda is really going to push out. I think this Maitreya coming when he pushes global Islam rule, and that's going to be some real wars here when he arrives in the Sananda. And then you're just looking at different types, because you have your New World Order agenda, which is basically a human possessed by Satan agenda, and then you have the alien faction itself, where the Anunnakis return, claiming and posing as God. And I still think that up ahead there's going to be things that we haven't even figured out yet that they're going to pull out. Because every time they've managed to come up with something or a plan or an agenda, we've figured it out. And so one thing they hate is being exposed ahead of time. They like to pull things off by surprise. And so I think there's things ahead that will take us all by surprise still. Some tricks they're gonna pull out of their hat, so they're not pre-exposed. And I've already pretty much seen that if the daily agenda takes over, the first thing they're gonna do is come after the big mouths and take them out and start the war on the Satan's war on the saints, because he doesn't want exposed and mocked and ridiculed and belittled the whole time he's here. And so while they're preaching love and tolerance, they're killing off all those who don't agree with them. So there's not much difference. They call the Illuminati the dark energy, the dark ones, the people in the Illuminati. They're no different than they are. You know, with the Illuminati, you have the 13 bloodline families of the Illuminati, and I've spent a lot of time explaining this Illuminati, these children. The reason they keep their bloodlines pure is because it's not pure human DNA. It's a contaminated bloodline, breeded by aliens and humans. They're hybrids. They're the children of these Aniks, these fallen watchers, and their sea lions throughout the centuries have been preserved. Their bloodlines. And so these children of the Illuminati answer to their Illuminati council and their handlers. And this council is an alien council, folks. There's no humans on it. It's all aliens. And something that comes to my mind is that song "Kashmir" by Led Zeppelin. And if you've ever paid attention to the lyrics of that song, it talks about the council in Orion. And you know, when you listen to the lyrics of that thing, it's just pretty amazing. Because they admit they got their music from channeling. And so they talk about this council, and it's just on I think it's nine members, maybe 12, that run the Illuminati children. And by running the Illuminati children on Earth, they have all of the politics and economy and religion under control, under their rule. Most of the pastors today are serpent seed liars. A lot of them are just bushwhacked into believing that the seminaries are teaching them the truth, teaching them what's in the KJV. And that's what they continue to teach, errors and apostasies, and they keep building more and more and more all over the place. But everything's fully under the control of these Anunnakin handlers, these Anunnaki masters. And they're also called, in New Age terminology, you'll hear them referred to as the Ashtar Command. And I have pictures of them on my website at SherryTalkRadio.com. And you'll see Sanat Kumara. This Sanat Kumara is allegedly a New Age depiction of what Lucifer looks like. Another name for Satan is the Sanat Kumara. And I have pictures of this Eve that's coming. They claim that this Eve is Mary, the mother of Jesus, but it's actually Eve. Maitreya coming, and you have his pictures on my site. That's Cain. That is Cain. I don't know how they've brought him back. No one even knows that he died. I mean, there's 3 different accounts of his death. One says he was shot in the field, bow and arrow or whatever, and one says his house fell down on him. Somehow they've managed to get Maitreya back, and somehow he was related to Cain, if not Cain himself. I do believe it's Cain. I don't know how he's doing it. I'll get that one figured out. Eve was promised, if you look in Satan's promise to her, that she would never die. You can't just go single-handedly by the Genesis depiction, translation of the KJV of the conversation that took place, because if you taking that whole thing as literal, you're always going to believe the whole event in the Garden of Eden was over eating an apple. And it had nothing to do with an apple. It was all just imagery of a sexual union that took place, a relationship between Eve and Satan. And they produced a son called Cain. They called him Cain. And then that's where the serpent's seed line was started. People ask me, how did it start up after Noah? And somebody sent me some information the other day. And it's the writings of Abraham. And in it, it talks about Abraham's wife. And I can't remember her name. I could pull it up. But his wife was of the serpent seed line. We knew Ham's wife was. And the sons' wives were. I did not know Noah's wife was too. Because it was Noah himself who found favor and grace in the eyes of the Lord. His family was saved along with him. But his wives, the sons' wives, at that time, everyone says Noah was the only righteous left on earth, and that's why the Lord spared him. Noah was the only one left with pure human DNA. That's why the Lord spared him. And so once you understand, start getting into the truths of what really happened in the early history, some of these lies and facades and lies of the churches start being exposed. And then everybody comes after you with swords and guns and knives, and they just want to stab you in the back and shut you up. Because one teaching that will get the entire Khazar false and fake Jewish people going, and the Mossad especially, is the whole teaching on the serpent seed line. Just ticks them off. And so that's one thing they try to disrupt online, is anybody believing that that's true. Anybody believing about the real relationship between Eve and Satan. Because Satan promised her she wouldn't die. He wouldn't, and so a lot of people never know what happened with Eve because she just isn't mentioned. Why isn't she mentioned? Why is it that these scribes and Pharisees, who the Lord hated when He was here, because they were serpent seed, and He admonished Israel for having the serpent seed as their scribes, because they were the ones keeping records of their history and writing it as they wanted it understood? How come they never talk about the apostasy of Solomon and Eve? They never really get into it. No one talks about Eve. Eve turned her back on the Lord in the latter years. In her latter years, probably not even latter, because some of these earlier Jewish writings claim that Cain had another wife and had more children with one of his granddaughters, because back then, everybody came from him. And continued on. Him and Eve were separated at one point. She went back to Satan. And I totally believe that, because this whole Mary facade isn't the worship of Mary or the Queen of Heaven, it's the worship of Eve. And so the blinders start being removed, and you start seeing things for what they are. But she's going to come back in the last days as this Queen of Heaven. I don't know what role she's going to play. But the New Agers tout her as Mary Magdalene. And the Catholics will tout her as Mary, the mother of Jesus. But I'm here telling you exactly just who she is. It's this Eve. It's Eve. But anyway, I have a depiction of her on my website at SherryTalkRadio.com. And she is shown as this Mary Magdalene of the New Age. New Agers refer to her as. So I don't even know why I'm bringing that up. I just get sidetracked. And some of you like my sidetracks better than anything I ever plan to talk about. I never really plan to talk about anything when I have a show, because I just let the Lord tell me what to say. The Lord lead me in what to say. And that's usually the best route, because then everything just gets said that somebody out there needs to hear.